Here's what happened in Moses' life. I've just left the highlights in, so it should be really quick. There was a man named Jacob.
Hello, Jacob.
But God changed his name to Israel.
Oh.
He had 12 sons, one named Joseph.
Hi.
Joseph moved to Egypt, and eventually all his brothers came too. They had lots of children, and their children had lots of children. And their children, they had lots of children too. These people were called the Israelites, named after Israel, the guy who used to be called Jacob. Some years long after Joseph and his brothers had all died, the Egyptians got a new king.
I crown you King of Egypt.
This new king didn't know about the good things that Joseph had done, or why the Israelites had come to Egypt in the first place. He was starting to get worried because there were now more Israelites, God's people, living in the land than Egyptians. And he was scared that if they ever had a fight, the Israelites would win. He decided to make the Israelites slaves to the Egyptians, forcing them to do loads of hard work. But it didn't help. The Israelites just grew in number even more. So the king made a new law.
Kill any newly born Israelites baby boys.
Oh no, that is disgusting.
After this horrible law had been made, Moses was born. Now obviously, his mum didn't want him to die, so she popped him in a basket and put him in the river. He was soon found by the king's daughter.
Well, what have we here?
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's a little baby.
But she felt sorry for him and decided to adopt him.
You'll be my little boy.
Over the next few years, Moses grew up.
I'm a man now.
One day, Moses saw an Egyptian beating up an Israelite for not working hard enough. So he looked to the left and he looked to the right and he killed the Egyptian thinking no one had seen him. But people found out, so Moses ran away. Many years passed by. Moses got married and had a baby. And one day, while he was out looking after some sheep, he saw a bush that was on fire, but not burning. He went over to take a closer look, and God called to him from the fire.
Hey, Moses!
God spoke to Moses.
I have heard the prayers of my people, and I will rescue them from the Egyptians. I will give you a new land to live in, the promised land. Now go, lead the people out of Israel.
So, rather reluctantly, can I at least bring my brother for backup? Moses went back to Egypt and asked the king to let the Israelites go. Pretty please?
No! Make their lives worse. Work them harder.
Moses went back to God.
He said no.
I'll show him.
God sent 10 plagues of really gross stuff.
Ah! Frogs! Flies everywhere. Who turned out the lights?
The final plague was the worst of all. Every family's oldest son would die at midnight. But God gave an instruction so that they could save the Israelite children.
Take a lamb and use it as a sacrifice.
What?
It will die instead of your child. Put some of its blood around your door and then you will be saved.
During that horrible night, the king sent for Moses.
Leave Egypt now!
So the Israelites packed their bags and left. God led the way out of Egypt in the form of a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire. When they were already on their way, Pharaoh changed his mind. He didn't want to lose any of the slaves, so he sent an army after them. The Israelites began to panic, but there was no need for that. The Lord rescued them by parting the Red Sea and making a path for them to walk straight through.
Lovely and dry in here.
However, when the Egyptians tried to cross the water, they didn't make it. The Israelites had made it out of Egypt. They were no longer slaves. They must be delighted.
Oh, it's boring out here. I'm hungry. I'd rather be a slave back in Egypt right now.
Now, of course, God wasn't going to let them starve to death. Instead, he made it rain bread.
Ah, but get off me.
You should be saying thank you. What's your manners? Manna, not manners. Get it? Every day they would gather up the manna God sent from heaven, but only enough for each day. If they took too much, just take a little extra, just in case it doesn't come tomorrow. The next day, it'll be infested with maggots. God's people, the Israelites, kept complaining about things all the time, but God always provided for their every need.
See that rock? Hit it with your staff.
Okay then.
Water!
One day, while they were in the wilderness, the Israelites got attacked by the Amalekites. Moses and his friends Aaron and Hur headed up a hill. When Moses would hold his staff in the air, the Israelites would start winning the battle. But when he dropped it, they would start to lose.
Oh no!
So Aaron and Hur helped Moses to hold up his hands, keeping the staff in the air so that they would win the battle. Sometime later, God led the people to Mount Sinai,
This way, everyone.
where he made a deal with the Israelites. If they chose to follow his way of living,
Just 10 rules.
called the commandments, he would make them his special people and never leave them.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we'll do it.
God started to tell Moses to make a place for his presence to be with them, which had some very complicated instructions, as you'd expect, to make a place just right for God. The plan was to put the terms of the agreement in a box in the middle of it, the Ark of the Covenant.
Make 11 curtains of goat hair cloth.
But while God was giving Moses the instructions for the agreement, the people got tired of waiting and they broke the first 2 rules already by making a golden statue of a baby cow that they worshipped instead of God. Very weird choice. The deal that God was making with the people had been broken and Moses got very angry.
After all that God's done for us.
He asked God to forgive the people. And because God is so full of love and mercy, he remade the deal with the people. That was about it from Moses. Moses had completed his task
You're the
to
man.
get God's people, the Israelites, safely out of Egypt. Moses never made it to the land that God had promised his people. God gave that task to a guy called Joshua.